So there you have it. That is pretty much all the round of 16 games done and dusted, and now we know the quarterfinal matchup in this season MLS playoffs. And with this 3-1 win that the Sounders put against LAFC, which this is the second year in a row that the Sounders knock LAFC out of the playoffs by that scoreline, that means I officially went 0-4 in terms of my Western Conference bracket prediction. And you know what? I'm actually fine with it, because in the Western Conference part of this season playoff, we definitely saw a couple of crazy games and a couple of big surprises that happened in the Western Conference. But also, if I had to make an excuse of why I went 0-4 and I had to wear the golden sombrero in terms of my prediction in the Western Conference bracket, I'll just say that, I didn't know who exactly was going to be available in the first round, and that those players that was on international duty, I have no idea whether they're available for their team in the first round or they're not available for their team in the first round. And I guess my second excuse, I would say, is you never know if COVID was going to strike one of these teams. And besides the fact that Inter Miami unfortunately have to suffer the pain of COVID striking their team, and they kind of had a bit of an outbreak with them missing 5 players for that playing game against Nashville. Thankfully, we did not have any other team that had a COVID outbreak, and pretty much there were no games that was postponed or even canceled because of that. Now, that being said, going back to this game, well, when I saw the starting 11 of this game, I knew this one was over, because despite the fact that the Sounders did not have Arriaga and Swenson for this game, they had Ruidíaz in this game. And knowing the fact that Ruidíaz was in this game, I knew this was probably going to be a long day for LAFC, and that, having Ruidíaz for the Sounders is so much different than the Sounders don't have Ruidíaz for this game, because we've seen before when the Sounders don't have Ruidíaz in their starting 11, they just don't look as dynamic on the attack as they have. But when they have him there, and also the free-headed monster there on the attack for the Sounders, you knew this was going to be a long day for this LAFC side, especially on the defensive end. And also for LAFC, as we know before, there was no Rossi, Rodriguez, Cifuentes, and Palacio in this game, and they definitely missed all 4 of those guys, especially Rossi and Rodriguez, because not having some of their best attacking player in this game was definitely one of the big reason why there was time LAFC looked kind of a little bit lackluster going forward, and that if those guys was on the starting 11 and was playing this game, I have no doubt that LAFC could have been much better than what they shown in terms of the attack in this game. Now, in the first half, and really for the first 15 minutes, I thought it was relatively tight in this game, and there wasn't really much chances in the first 15 minutes. LAFC was electing to sit back and letting the Sounders have all the possession and asking them to see if they can, of course, break them down. And it actually took us till minute 17 until we got our first real opportunity. And coincidentally, that's when we got our first goal of this game, as Ladero would score from Morris and Ruidíaz to give the Sounders a 1-0 lead. But that lead looked like it was in jeopardy just 2 minutes later when Nuhu basically brought down Vela in the box, which gives LAFC the penalty. However, LAFC wasn't able to capitalize because Vela missed a rare penalty, and it looks like he basically hits it straight into Stefan Fry. And, I know when you look at it, that was definitely not one of Carlos Vela's best penalty, but you got to give credit to Stefan Fry, where you have so many times when goalkeepers is facing penalty kick shootout, they tend to make up their minds very early to decide which way they dive, and that sometimes goalkeeper don't actually read what the penalty kick taker is doing. And this time Stefan Fry clearly read what Vela was trying to do, and I guess Vela was thinking that Fry was already made his mind up so that he can just put it straight down Broadway. But yeah, that did not happen. Fry was not fooled by that whatsoever, and he made a good save to basically keep the Sounders the lead in this game. Now, just a couple of minutes later, Vela had another chance from the header, but unfortunately he missed high. But I thought things was kind of started to open up a little bit for both of these teams for the first 15 minutes of the game, as I said, was relatively tight. But we did head to halftime 1-0 in favor of the Sounders, and in the second half, you start to see that LAFC was started to be more on the front foot and look for the equalizer. But it actually turns out the Sounders were the one that had some big chances to make it 2-0. First, you had Morris in the 52nd minute, should have made it 2-0, but he missed an absolute sitter from 6 yards out. Before, he was unlucky to struck the post just 7 minutes later, and I also thought the LAFC was getting caught on the break. I mean, I understand that Bob Bradley probably changed the tactics and want his team to be a little bit more attacking and trying to take control of this game, knowing the fact that they're down 1-0. But at times they were definitely getting caught on the break, and this was an example of that. And they were very fortunate that Morris basically struck the post, and they were even more fortunate that just 45 seconds later, Ladero unfortunately suffered the same fate and struck the post there. But those two shots were really just kind of a warning shot for LAFC and from the Seattle Sounders, because eventually they would get that second goal. It came in the 65th minute when Rui Diaz is able to score to make it 2-0 in favor of the Sounders. The Sounders did start to sit back once again and trying to do what they had some success in the first 15 minutes of the second half, which is trying to counter LAFC. And LAFC, I feel like after when they realize they're now down multiple goals, they kind of look a little bit dejected and just having a tough time in terms of breaking down the Sounders team. Though, that being said, in the 77th minute, it looked like they got a lifeline when Atuesta was able to score from Vela to make it 2-1 at that point. But unfortunately, that lifeline turns out to be false hope, because just 2 minutes later, Jordan Morris scores from Rui Diaz and Ladero to make it 3-1 in favor of the Sounders. Mark-Anthony Kaye did score in the 87th minute to what looked like it was a second lifeline that LAFC was got handed in this game, but unfortunately he was in an offside position after they go to VAR, and rightfully so. That goal was disallowed, and that is the final action and also the final score of this game, with the Sounders winning 3-1 against LAFC. And the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 12 that LAFC had, 3 shots on goal compared to 4 that LAFC had, 5 shots off target compared to 4 that LAFC had, 5 shots out of block compared to 4 that LAFC had. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that LAFC had in this game. And I know, as we are going to get to tomorrow and the talking point about this game, I know a lot of people are going to be once again making fun of LAFC and saying that, look at that, they just choked again for the 3rd year in a row and got knocked out in this game. But for me, I really think that, this was kind of unfortunate coming into this game with them missing a couple of players, either because those players weren't able to return back because of international break, or the fact that unfortunately some of those players got COVID. Because I think if both of these teams were on even strength and both of these teams had a good attacking piece, this would have definitely been a much more even kind of matchup. But that being said, the Sounders are able to survive their first test of the playoffs, and now they definitely have a good path now heading for the rest of the playoffs, now that they of course are going to be playing against FC Dallas. But that being said, that I think is a matchup where, even though I know a lot of people are going to say the Sounders are probably going to win that one, Dallas is definitely looking to try to get some revenge after what happened last year, and that I felt that game between the Sounders and FC Dallas is going to be one-sided as what some people would think it is. But for LAFC, their season actually isn't finished yet, and I kind of forgot to mention this with these team that is still in CCL that got eliminated, and one of those teams are the Montreal Impact, where their season technically is not over because they still have to go to Orlando to play in the CONCACAF Champions League, and in LAFC case, they of course will be playing that single elimination game against Cruz Azul, and no doubt that by then I think they should have their best team back in that game, and be interesting to see how they of course will do in that one. But overall, coming out of this game, and if you're LAFC, I don't think you're going to be too bothered the fact that you got eliminated, because when you look at the key players that they were missing, and they were really going to be up against in this one against a really strong Sounders team. There's really no shame at the end of the day, despite the fact that I know people are going to make fun of LAFC because they once again got eliminated by the Seattle Sounders. And of course, the scoreline basically will be an easy way for people to kind of make memes about the fact that, look at that, LAFC once again got eliminated by the Sounders, and it has to be by that same scoreline that they got eliminated last year in the Western Conference Final. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this game, and also what do you think of this round of 16 in general so far? I mean, when I look at all these round of 16 games, man, oh man, this has, I know this seems like kind of a cliche I say every single year when a playoffs have some very, very crazy games that happen, but this is got to be one of the best playoffs I've ever seen, and with all the chaos that has happened. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the quarterfinal, and really as we get into the quarterfinal, knowing the fact that some of these matches are very tightly contested, it's going to be even harder to try to predict some of these games, and that we might even continue to see some surprises, especially I think coming out of this round of 16. I think earlier we thought that every team that was like the top seed and had home field advantage was going to win all the games, and then today we found out that there of course was some surprises with some of those road team able to get victory. And at least one thing that I'm very happy to say about this year is that we're not going to get a Seattle versus Toronto matchup. I mean, I think that was something that every MLS fan was dreading, that it won't happen, but thanks to Nashville, they of course avoided that fate, and that we are not going to have Seattle and Toronto for pretty much the fourth time in the last 5 seasons. But that being said, the streak of a Cascadia team represented in MLS Cup is still alive. So I guess if people are kind of dreaded the fact that well, especially in the Western Conference, if all the Western Conference team are hoping it's not going to be another Cascadia team represented in MLS Cup, well, unfortunately, that hope is still not dead yet, and that if Dallas is able to knock off Seattle, or either Minnesota or SKC is able to knock off Seattle. I mean, if you look at all the remaining team remain in the Western Conference, no doubt Seattle is the strongest team out of all of those, and that they're going to be the favorites potentially once again reaching to MLS Cup, but we shall see. I mean, this playoffs, there's been so many unpredictable things that can happen in this playoffs, and I expect there's going to be some even more crazy thing we're going to see as we get into the quarterfinal. But yeah, there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and for these next couple of days I will take these time to do some moving forward series now that we don't have we don't have game until Sunday, and I'll probably start making the previews for the quarterfinal either on Friday or Saturday of this week. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.